that's been released online.
Oh, yeah. What up? What up? What up? What up? IOBA. My name is TC. And, yesterday, yesterday, there was a school shooting in Madison, Wisconsin. And that shit hit close to home because of what I do for a living and where I work. I work at a high school. And I see kids just like the ones that got injured yesterday every day coming into the building. And when they were coming in this morning, because I'm part of the security team in the morning, and I'm looking at them, and they passing through the security scanner, and I'm like, any one of these kids could flip out and have something on them. You know what I'm saying? And just start wilding out in the cafeteria. Because the security, I don't want to, I think, there needs to be more of it. There needs to be more of it. Plain and simple. I mean, you got me standing there with the scanner machine, like an X-ray machine, and they pass through. But all of the kids that pass through my door, I kind of know by now. Every once in a while, an adult will come through, but it just so happens that any one of them kids at any time could have something, a concealed weapon on them, and ain't nobody there to check them. And I guess the point is there needs to be more funding, for security at schools. I mean, within the schools. And I'm not talking about bringing more motherfuckers in with guns. I'm talking about, like, you see how I'm standing there by the scanner. There needs to be two other people looking in bags, especially as a result of this. As I'm standing there by the scanner, there needs to be two other people looking in bags and inspecting book bags and shit as they come in. At least for like the next 3-4 weeks. I don't even know if the people, if the administrators in my school, because I'm down here in Florida, even paying attention to this. But they should be. Because this girl, what her name is? Natalie Ruffnell. Natalie Ruffnell. They didn't show a picture of her. Apparently, she, died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. That's what they're saying. And, but she, killed a student, a teacher, and injured a couple other people really bad. So, never take for granted your life. It could be snuffed out in an instant. I'm telling you. And they're talking about taking money and funding away from schools. No, you can't do that. You got to go the other way, especially when this kind of stuff is going on. They already gutted the schools enough. I mean, we underfunding schools so that we can create detention centers and concentration camps and a big military. We underfunding public schools so that we can create that other shit. It's crazy. You're taking all the money out of public schools. We need me plus 2 more people in the morning. On the heels of what just happened up in Wisconsin. Now, I know Wisconsin's a long ways away, but it's really not. You know what I mean? It's really not. 15-year-old girl. So, when they start talking about closing the Department of Education and stuff like that, that's why that stuff worries me. Because in this country, the politicians, they don't seem to care. They don't seem to care about what's really important. They care about ruling over people and power. That's what they care about. And they don't care about how many regular people die and go hungry and stay uneducated. Because an educated mass of people, an educated population, is probably too hard to control. I remember, it's a little off topic, but I remember a long time ago reading a document called Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. And in that document, it said that the students must be given the least education possible. And that minority and black students should be given even lesser education than that. So that even a really bright black student will still be handicapped as he or she enters the system. In other words, education's got to be so poor until they can just barely get by in an everyday world. And in order to deal with this excess population, we let them die if they get sick. We keep keep a few around to do the menial jobs that we don't want to do, and the rest we just warehouse them in prisons and detention centers and shit like that. While we live, or in really depressed cities, while we live in our gated communities with our private security. You know what I mean? So, and that's where we're going. That's what the next 4 years is going to look like, because the Republicans are there. And they got the House and the Senate and the Supreme Court and the presidency. And shit like this school shooting here, it'll probably get reported on less and less, but it'll be more and more frequent. You know? Because the more funding they cut from the schools, the more this kind of stuff gonna happen. And it's all tied in together. It's all part of the same problem. Symptoms really, of the same illness. Everything I just talked about is a symptom of the same illness. The refusal of the government to spend any money on its citizens. The U.S. government to spend any money on its citizens. And let them die, let them stay uneducated. We'll just enslave them. When I was leaving my post this morning and going to my office, I saw two little young girls. They looked like they about 16, 17. And mind you, the bell had rang and the whole cafeteria had cleared and everybody was going to class. These two girls were still sitting outside. Like they didn't give a fuck. I heard the other security guard tell them, y'all better go ahead and go to class. What y'all sitting out here for? And they didn't move. Now, I don't know if she reported them when she went inside or what. But them two little girls, if they had any idea of how little the federal government, city and state government cares about them and their future, if they knew how little that the government cared, then they'd be trying to soak up that free education, because they'll realize that they are responsible for their own future. And their own future going to be governed by what they do in high school. They don't even realize that their own future, a lot of it anyway, largely hinges on what they do in high school. That's the truth right there. So they sitting their ass outside, and when they go to class, they're going to lie and say the bus dropped them off late or some shit like that. Well, they just gonna wind up slaves. They're gonna wind up either wage slaves or they're gonna wind up actual slaves in somebody's prison. Because there ain't gonna be no social safety net for them. I'm telling you. Ain't gonna be no I'll go down and get me a welfare check. I'll go down and get me a disability check. I'll go down and get me some food stamps. I'll go down and get me some Section 8 to pay my rent. All that stuff going away. Now, me personally, I think all those things should be there. Not for people who don't try. Not for people who don't try. But because I know that even people who trying, at some point, there ain't even going to be no jobs for them. So if you uneducated, you're going to run out of work a lot sooner. You're going to need that social safety net a lot sooner. You dig me? So I went on back to my office. And I thought to myself, what's going to happen to these people? What's going to happen to these kids and these young people? When they leave here and haven't learned anything. You know what? Your teenage years is frustrating enough, man. It is. Teenage years is hard and confusing enough. This little girl who shot up this school, I don't know what she was going through. But I know some of the kids on my caseload, they got some really difficult home lives. And any child, teenager anyway, that can't cope with that kind of pressure could snap and do something really, really bad to themselves or to other people. But we ain't got the systems in place. We ain't got the money in place. We ain't got the professionals in place to help nobody. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. And so when you get the Republicans in the White House and you get people like Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk talking about cutting money to education, public education, you're going to get more of this stuff. Anyway, thanks for listening to me talk my shit. Hit the subscribe button on your way out. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.